Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. We start today's video with a story about fast food, generosity, and the worst case of entitlement you'll ever see. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Hand in my bucket, a lesson in entitlement. A few months ago, I decided to treat myself after a long day. I'd just gotten off a train after a long journey, and by the time I got home, it would have been close to 8:30 p.m. The thought of dragging myself to the store and then cooking was just too much. So I figured, why not? I'd swing by KFC and grab some dinner. When I walked in, I noticed a deal on the board, 20 hot wings. Perfect. I'd order that with some fries and a drink. My plan was simple: enjoy a good chunk of them while I sat in the restaurant, then take the rest home and reheat them for lunch the next day. It felt like a little reward for surviving a long day. I sat down, dug in, and after about 8 wings, I was feeling pretty satisfied. That's when the evening took a turn. Out of nowhere, this rough-looking guy wandered into the restaurant. He didn't head for the counter or even glance around. His eyes locked straight on me, or rather straight on the bucket sitting in front of me. Without hesitation, he marched right up to my table and pointed. "Can I have one?" he asked. I was caught off guard. Normally I'd say no. It was my food after all, but I was in a decent mood and didn't feel like dealing with the scene. "Sure," I said, figuring I'd hand him a wing myself. But before I could even reach for the bucket, he plunged his own hand straight into it like it was a bowl of popcorn at the movies. By the time he pulled his arm back, he had at least 3 wings clutched in his fist. He didn't say thank you, didn't even look at me again. He just turned, walked to another table, and sat down to eat them. I sat there staring, stunned, and more than a little disgusted. Watching someone else's bare hand root around in your food has a way of killing your appetite fast. I finished off the fries and the couple of wings I'd already pulled out, but after that, forget it. The rest of the bucket sat there, tainted in my mind. There were maybe 3 or 4 left, but I couldn't bring myself to eat them. The idea of taking them home for leftovers was suddenly out of the question. So I got up, carried the bucket over to the guy, and set it on the table next to him. "Here, you can have the rest," I said. I wasn't expecting a parade or even much of a thank you, but I thought he might at least acknowledge me. Instead, without even looking up from the table, he mumbled in the most apathetic voice imaginable, "Can I have some chips as well?" That was the moment I decided I was done. No argument, no comeback. I just grabbed my bag, turned on my heel, and walked out. Look, I get it. Times are tough for a lot of people. Maybe the guy was hungry. Maybe he didn't have the money for food. But the sheer entitlement, the lack of even a shred of gratitude, it floored me. I'd gone from feeling generous to feeling taken advantage of in less than 5 minutes. It was, without exaggeration, the most ungrateful interaction I've ever had in my life. The fact that he inserted the please is interesting, so he's heard the word somewhere. But after reaching in and taking someone's food? Boundaries, a-hole. And our second story. My land, my farm, your punishment for stupidity. I never thought the word shortcut would sound like a sentence, but to Karen, the head of the local HOA, you know the type, my ranch wasn't a home or private property. It was a convenient corridor between the highway and her street. She tore back and forth in her giant pickup, so big it looked like it was about to tow half of Utah. For an accountant, which she played at HOA meetings, that kind of truck was laughable. For me, it was a constant threat. My daughters ride their bikes in the yard, the dog loves rolling in the dust, and most importantly, this is my land. I warned her politely, then formally, then clearly and briefly. This is private property. There is no public easement. Don't drive here. Karen laughed like in a cheap TV show. "Oh, an easement. Listen, cowboy, the public good comes first. I have things to do. I can't spend 10 minutes going around. You have no idea how much my time is worth." "Great," I said. "So is mine. That's why I'm putting up a gate." I installed a handsome wooden barrier gate, stylish, solid, with a sign, "Private road, no trespassing, children at play," on both sides. And key detail, I paid for and registered the access control gate with the county, legally, permit number and all, a small but very spiteful piece of letter of the law compliance. The next day, Karen boiled over. "What is this, Strawberry Little Town? Open up," she yelled from the truck window. "It's a gate," I said, "on my land." "You have no right. My brother works in the sheriff's office," she shrieked like it was a skeleton key for life. "Super," I smiled. "You can call him anytime." Couple of days of quiet followed. Not a single car rustled down our dirt track. The girls rode their bikes. The dog chased Bones. I even slept better. And then, late evening, moon like a garage light bulb, there came a crack, an engine roar, the clatter of chain. Someone had hooked a cable to the gate and ripped it out like a baby tooth. Metal groaned, hinges flew, both halves of the gate ended up somewhere in the brush 5 minutes away by car. I stood there in the dark with a flashlight staring at the empty drive. First thought, call the sheriff. Second, remember the brother in the office. Third, malicious compliance mode, turn the law up to full but keep a cool head. Next day, I put up another gate, metal like a dinosaur skeleton with decorative wooden cladding on the front. From the roadside, nice wood. From my side, a solid steel frame poured into concrete like a proper foundation. No cable, no pickup, nothing would rip it out. Under the gate, a new sign, no public access, video recording in progress. Cameras? Oh yes, 2 solar-powered and 1 hidden in the fence post. A week, silence. I almost thought Karen had had her fill, but when a person believes the world owes them, silence is just the pause before the next scream. Saturday, noon, dust on the horizon like a western. Her king cab rolls in, a massive pickup, her husband driving, Karen in the passenger seat. No seatbelt, arms flailing. I stepped onto the porch with my coffee. The girls were on the steps. I ushered the dog inside. "You think we're going the long way around?" Karen screeches. "You're going to jail for obstructing traffic." "No," I said, "you're going back to the road. Under Utah law, this is private property." "Don't you tell me about Utah," she shrilled. "I'm the HOA. We voted." She said something to her husband. He gave it gas, and the pickup charged the gate like a bull at a red flag. I didn't even manage a "let's not." Bam! The plastic bumper shattered. The grill bit into the cladding, and the metal inside the gate didn't even ring. The truck bounced off like a ball and slewed sideways. Karen, unbelted, hit her head on the windshield. Cracks spread like a spider web. I was honestly surprised she didn't fly out. The dirt road saves you there. You can't pick up too much speed. 1 second of silence, then an explosion. You made a trap," she screamed, holding her head. "This is an attack. Sheriff! Sheriff!" "Already calling," I said, dialing 911. "Tell me, please, where does it hurt?" "Don't you dare ask me. You're going to prison. My brother—" The ambulance and the sheriff arrived together. Irony of fate, the on-duty sheriff was the very one I've known since childhood. He hunted with my father, went fishing, smoked cigars on our porch. He stepped out, calm as ever, and behind him the same brother in the office, a deputy, blushing like a fairground flag. "So what do we have here?" the sheriff asked, eyeing the gate and the pickup. Karen lunged forward. "Arrest him! He built a trap! I almost died!" The sheriff raised a hand. "Hold on, ma'am. You're telling me you drove onto his private land, rammed his gate with your truck, and now you're calling me to arrest him? Are you out of your mind? Or did you just hit your head very hard?" I nearly choked on my coffee smile. The deputy, the brother, coughed and pretended to examine his notebook. "There is public access here," Karen snapped. "I'm the head of the HOA." "An HOA can't create an easement on someone else's land," the sheriff replied evenly. "Where is the owner's written consent?" "He should be glad I drive through carefully." "You just drove into the gate." Meanwhile, the paramedics examined Karen. She waved them off. "Don't touch me. I have rights." "Were you wearing a seatbelt?" the EMT asked quietly. "I'm not obligated to wear that strap like a construction worker," Karen screeched. The sheriff sighed. "Ma'am, seatbelts are mandatory in Utah. Right now, you've got at least a traffic violation, plus criminal trespass, property damage, reckless behavior, possibly filing a knowingly false report, and that's just for starters." "You can't write me up," Karen shrieked. "My brother's on your team." The sheriff glanced at the deputy. "Family conflict of interest. Step aside." The deputy nodded and stepped away like a whipped dog. I pulled printed papers from my pocket, the gate permit, photos of the stolen wooden gate, a repair estimate from a contractor, copies of the no trespassing signs, a county registry extract confirming there's no public easement here. I prepared the documents, I said, and by the way, the camera recorded everything. Camera? The sheriff raised an eyebrow. 3, I said. Here's a flash drive with copies. Karen tried a new tactic. Fine, then I'll just sue. I'm in pain. I need compensation. You set a trap. This isn't a trap, the sheriff explained. It's a gate installed with a permit. Traps are illegal. Gates are legal, especially when posted and on private land. Her husband stood silently by the cracked grill, studying the bumper like a student with a broken calculator. The medics finally persuaded Karen into the ambulance. She kept yelling from the gurney, "You'll pay for everything! My brother will destroy you!" "I'll be filing an official statement," I told the sheriff and calmly glanced at the deputy. "You'll have to transfer the case to another office because of the conflict, right?" "Right," the sheriff nodded. "We'll pass it to the neighboring department. And yes, here's your case number." The malicious compliance wasn't over. The next week, my attorney and I filed a civil suit, compensation for the wooden gate, for the new metal one, in part, for damage to the roadbed, for the tow of their pickup, for storage on my lot. I'm very punctual with invoices, and for emotional distress to my daughters. Nightmares aren't a joke. Attached video copies, documents, the county extract showing no easement, the gate permit, the contractor's estimate, neighbor statements about Karen's long-standing shortcuts across my yard. Their auto insurer puffed up at first. Perhaps this is a collision with an obstacle. Then they received the police report, a deliberate entry onto private property despite signage, an attempt to ram a gate. Insurer's favorite word, intentionally, suddenly became my best friend. Policies may not cover intentional acts, and now Karen wasn't just facing fines and potential criminal charges, but also the prospect of paying for repairs out of pocket. Court day, small courtroom, flags, a judge with cool irony in his eyes. Karen came in with a bandage on her forehead and a voice that could shatter crystal. "Your Honor, he deliberately created a trap. I almost died. I have PTSD." The judge went through my documents and watched the video. On screen, her pickup drives straight into the gate, the signs flashing like Christmas lights, my daughter cycling on the left, she managed to swerve, me standing on the porch with coffee, the sheriff later commenting frame by frame. "Ma'am," the judge said slowly, "you knowingly crossed onto private property. You had no right of passage. You were not wearing a seatbelt. You filed a false claim about a trap. You endangered children. You damaged property." "But I'm the HOA president." "That gives you no authority on someone else's land." Criminal outcome, given it's the first major offense, though not her first incursion, fines for trespass, reckless driving, no seatbelt, knowingly false report/call, community service, and, cherry on top, a suspended sentence with a no trespass order keeping her away from my property. The deputy brother got a formal reprimand for attempting to influence the process and was removed from any cases involving his sister's HOA. In the civil case, the court ordered Karen and her husband to reimburse me for both sets of gates, installation, road repair, towing and storage for their pickup, court costs, and a small but pleasant amount for the children's emotional distress. The insurer denied coverage due to intentionality, and the court confirmed it. The smell of victory? Fresh as pines after rain. And the HOA, they were rattled. At the next meeting, the neighbors were no longer afraid of Karen's gravelly voice. One gray-haired neighbor stood up. "Karen, you've put us all at risk. You don't understand anything. I'm the only one who cares here." "You're the only one ramming neighbors' gates," another said. They removed her from the board simply and routinely, no fanfare. I didn't cheer out loud, just jotted down a small joy in my journal. Rules are for everyone, even for giant pickups and big voices. But my malicious compliance didn't end there. I did a few more small things, penny to penny. 1, upgraded the dirt detour, installed nice reflectors and reflective posts so even random wanderers would clearly know where they belong. 2, ordered one more sign, bigger. Private land, no cut-through, violators will be prosecuted. 3, set up a visitor parking area by the yard, free, but with clear rules. Why? Because when you do everything legally and transparently, Karen has fewer notes left in her operetta. The girls were back to racing bikes, the dog was back to sprawling in the dust, and I sat on the porch with my coffee, looking at the new gate and thought about the odd taste of justice. It isn't always sweet. Sometimes it's as astringent as the cigars the sheriff used to smoke with my father. But that taste is honest. Couple of weeks later, Karen walked past my fence on foot, no pickup, no screaming, with a bandage on her forehead and a bruise under her glasses. She stopped right at the boundary, under the sign, and without looking at me, buzzed like an irritated hive. "You ruined everyone's life." "No," I answered quietly. "I just put a gate on my land and followed the law." She sniffed and walked on, like a cloud shadow. I watched her go and, for the first time, felt no anger. I'd done everything right, exactly as the law allows. No traps, no dirty tricks, just a clean, careful, legal answer to a scream. The sheriff stopped by for coffee sometime after. He smiled with his eternal calm. "Nice gate." "Built for a century," I said, in case someone gets the urge to stress test it again. He sipped, looked at the sign, the road reflectors, the straight fence line. "You know, your father used to say, a proper fence beats a long quarrel." "For sure," I said, "and a proper law beats a long revenge." Then a letter arrived from the HOA, official and emotionless. "We apologize for the inconvenience caused by the irresponsible behavior of the former president." I filed that letter next to the gate permit and the police report into my little long memory book. Not out of gloating, but so I wouldn't forget. Order isn't where the loudest are right. Order's when the rules work for everyone. Karen kept trying to spin the story on social media for a while. Paranoid neighbor, he hates people, I almost died. The comments were chilling. A neighbor dropped a link to the court ruling, another to the state statutes, trespass, reckless driving, criminal mischief. A third simply wrote, "Kids ride bikes, it's simple." And you know, I didn't want anything more because malicious compliance isn't about clever traps or footprints in the sand. It's about when someone screams, "I'm calling the sheriff," and you say, "Great, let's do everything by the book." When someone threatens you with a relative in the office, you answer, "Then we'll document it even more thoroughly." When they rip out your gate, you install a better one, more legal, stronger. When they break your front, you rouse the full letter of the law and let it do its job. That evening, I closed the metal gate, quietly, without theatrics. The latch creaked, the lock clicked. Somewhere a coyote's song stretched across the dark. The girls laughed on the porch, asking for cocoa. I glanced at the sign, and it smiled back at me. No trespassing. It isn't no to people, it's yes to safety, yes to peace, yes to home. And Karen? Karen became a legend. Not the one she dreamed of, the kind that teaches others when you shout to the whole world, "Anything goes, I'm Karen." Sometimes the world answers with steel, with law, and with one very strong word made of many syllables, responsibility. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.